Hi everyone, welcome back to this series of PMP practice questions where we're looking at waterfall questions specifically, and also specifically from PMBOK 6th edition, which is a great guide to the waterfall process and something that will really help you in the real world, in your real world projects. Let's get into these 10 questions, scenario based, very similar to the real exam. It's going to be a whole bunch of fun. You are developing a new scheduling software for your organization, and the project is at risk of not meeting its scheduled release date. The functional manager tells you that they are now removing 3 key resources from the project who are currently assigned to the critical path tasks, 2 critical path tasks. Okay, what will you do next? Wow, okay, so we're removing resources from the project who are assigned to critical path tasks, meaning that they are essential to getting it done on time, and we're already at risk of not meeting our scheduled date. Okay, let's see what options we have here. Submit a change request to change the project schedule. Probably not the best answer for us. Let's see if there's a better one to try and meet that schedule instead. Escalate the situation to the project sponsor. Again, if we can handle this ourselves, it's probably going to be better, but let's see what options we have. Overturn the decision of the functional manager. We may not be able to do that because the functional manager owns those resources, so we actually have to sort of work with them on this one. In fact, I can see where this is going. We have to negotiate with them, exactly, with the functional manager and reach an agreement. So we have to use our skills influencing and negotiating, our communication skills to try and work with them and get the best possible outcome. And of course, if we're delivering value to that functional manager, then hopefully they want to collaborate with us as well. But let's go with answer D. And there we are. Submitting a change request is only needed if the baseline schedule, cost, or scope are changing. The project sponsor may not have control over the functional area, and escalation can always come later. The project manager doesn't have the authority to overturn the resource decisions. The next best step is to use negotiation before escalating or submitting a change request. And we've got here page 341 and 357 in the PMBOK guide if you want to check out negotiation and those things in the PMBOK guide yourself. All right, that was a really good one to start with. Let's see what we've got next. You are leading a waterfall project where there has just been a change to government regulation. It impacts the scope of your project and requires a change. You perform impact analysis and find that the change will use up the project's cost management reserves. Okay, here we go. Completely. What will you do next? Okay, so we've used up, as we know, we've got our project budget, we had our cost management reserves. Cost management reserves. That's for unforeseen scope, I think. Contingency reserves are for risks. That becomes our project budget, and we add the management reserves on top of that for unforeseen scope that's still within the scope of the project. Okay, what are we going to do next? Raise a risk in the risk register and assign an owner. Okay, what are we trying to do here? A change that needs government regulation. Okay, document a change request and take it to the change control board. I think that's probably going to be our one. Even though it uses up all of our cost management reserves, that's just trying to throw us off, because what do we actually have to do? We still have to do the change request, okay? So I think that's probably going to be our one. Discuss the situation with our project sponsor. If we've got a change control board, that's probably going to be better, and we still need to raise the change request anyway. We can't just go straight to the project sponsor, even if they are on the change control board. Make the change to project scope as it's within the managed budget reserves. Again, we still have to go through the change control process because it's a change to scope. All right, I think we're going to go with answer B based on all of that. Excellent work. All right, in this situation, we are talking about the change request process. We know that there is a change to project scope that will require a change request. We've also performed impact analysis, which is what we need to do. And we can take that to the change control board. Risks are noted before they occur. After they occur, they become issues, so that's good to know. And the project sponsor might be a part of the change control board, but if a change control board exists, it would be inappropriate to go to the project sponsor first. And if we want to get more information on that, the PMBOK guide, page 115 in the PMBOK guide to check that out. And I think actually after this, so here's a little bit of information. So if we've got a risk, as we were saying, we note that in the risk register. Once that risk happens, then it becomes an issue that impacts our project. And we note that in the issue log. Now, once we've got that, if that issue requires a change to one of our baseline documents, like our schedule, our budget or cost, or our scope, for example, any of those things, then we need to raise a change request. But first, we review the impact to our cost or our schedule. So what's the impact? How is it going to put us back, or is it going to cost us more? Then we raise the change request. Then we note that in the change log. Then we take it to the change control board, and that could be made up of anyone that we decide in our project management plan. So we have to plan that up front. Who's on the change control board? Is it just the project manager? Is it the project sponsor? Is it executives in the company as well? They'll give you an outcome. You log that in the change log, back in the change log again. So those two things are connected. And then you advise that outcome to all of the stakeholders that needed to know about it. So that's the general process, and that's really, really handy to know. You probably come across that process in some way, shape or form in your waterfall career, plus in the waterfall questions on the PMP exam. All right, let's get into the next question. You are working on a commercial off-the-shelf system project for your organization with a third party. The system provider has been getting further and further behind in their part of the delivery, and it's starting to impact your project schedule. What will you do next? Okay, system provider, so that's our third party, they're getting further and further behind. So how do we work with them to bring them back in line? Use your project scope contingency reserves to speed delivery of the item. I wonder if there's a better option here because it's they're delivering it for us. So that may not be the best one. Raise an issue in the issue log and note the status. Yes, it's probably an issue, so maybe. Like we said, it's first a risk. When it happens, then it becomes an issue. Raise a claim to the third party for the commercial off-the-shelf delay. It's not a claim until there's an actual disagreement of the project scope. What did they say they were going to deliver? What do we think they were going to deliver? And is it different? Then we might raise a claim later on, usually closer to the end of the project. What's the last one? Review the procurement agreement for the original time frame and the escalation process. That sounds perfect to me because we need to work with them. So how do we work with them? We need to get that process in the procurement agreement. And also, what was the original time frame we agreed to? Is it still within that time frame or is it behind now? I think for us, let's go with answer D. All right, there it is. The process is controlling procurements, keeping any third-party agreement and the contract under control. We're controlling our agreements and procurements and vendors and third parties. Agreements is one of the inputs into this process. Claims are contested changes to the item, and the claims process might also be in the procurement contract, including an alternative dispute resolution. So if we can't agree, you want that one, we want that one, and we still can't agree, we have to take that to a third party who can walk us through or can be a neutral third party to help us make an agreement. And here we are, page 492 and 498 in the PMBOK guide, control procurements and the claims administration process. Really, really great things to check out. That was awesome. All right, good stuff. How did you go for that one? I thought that was a little bit trickier, but also good to get into our vendor management. Really, really handy. All right. Your project team have completed development and quality testing. You have had the product validated and signed off with the receiving functional manager. Okay, so it's been signed off, fantastic. The functional manager asks you to perform variance analysis on the outcome once the product is released. Okay, what will you do next? Variance analysis on the outcome. Okay, review the different products and their potential impact on the business. Potential impact. I think it's been signed off with the receiving manager, and we're about to release it. So I think not this one. This is before all of that happens. I think. Review the cost of the product versus the benefit. Again, that happens before we kick off the project. Cost-benefit analysis. Review the problem the product is trying to solve and the reasons behind it. I'm not sure about that one. Is that root cause analysis? This must be the different types of analysis that we're looking at here, I think. Review the forecast business benefit and the actual benefit post-release. Okay, Well, that gives us a clue there. Obviously, we're releasing the product, but so we're looking at the benefit. What did we say we were going to get versus what are we actually getting? That's the variance between those two things on the outcome. So all of it's starting to make sense now. I think that makes sense. Let's go with answer D. There it is, fantastic. Answer A describes alternatives analysis, B is cost-benefit analysis, C is root cause analysis, and D describes comparing planned with the actual performance of the product, or the variance between the two. Among all of the options provided, answer D is the best answer, and that's page 111 in the PMBOK guide if you want to check that out, under variance analysis. Nice heading, exactly what we're after. And also exactly what we're after is we're almost halfway through this little section. You're doing great. Keep going, guys. This has been really good. You're working as a project manager on a new kitchen product for your organization. The product has been through a thorough design process and has now been developed. You have had a quality testing team check over the product and they are happy. All right, excellent. What will you do next? So it's been developed, it's been designed, developed, and now it's been tested. Do we accept the deliverable and begin archiving project information? I think there's got to be something before this. I think someone else needs to accept it. We can't accept it ourselves. Usually the customer needs to accept it based on the quality testing results, I think. Let's see what we've got. Test the new product with a small amount of customers to reduce the risk. Probably not the best one. Ask the project sponsor to begin production of the new product. I think they still need to agree and sign off on it. Show the project sponsor the verified deliverable. We've verified the deliverables meet their requirements through quality testing. Now it's time for them to accept those deliverables. I think we're going to go with answer D here again. And there it is. Excellent. The process of deliverable acceptance is this. Control quality testing gives you the verified deliverables. You take those and that's in the validate scope process, and you validate that with the customer, and then they give you the accepted deliverables once they've accepted them. Verified deliverables are completed and checked for correctness through the control quality process, and they're put into the they're an input into the validate scope. So our project sponsor is validating that scope based on all of that information from the testing information, that exactly like we said. So that's a good way to understand that process, how it flows, and where we needed to go there. Page 165 in the PMBOK guide under verified deliverables. That's really, really handy and a really good tip on how that process flows for your exam as well. That was excellent. All right, how did you guys go for that one? That was really good, I thought. All right, let's see the next one. You have the project scope defined on your project, and you have created the list of activities needed to deliver that scope. The project sponsor is worried that there will not be enough resources to complete the work. What will you do next? Okay, so resources. Let's have a look. Sequence the activities. Okay, we've defined the scope, created the list of activities. I think this is what are we just going to do next in our project to give them enough information. This actually sounds pretty good. Sequence the activities, estimate their duration, definitely, and then create the schedule for the project sponsor, because that way we'll know, what the work that's going to be required. So this could be the best one, but let's see what else we have. Ask the project sponsor to hire more resources so you're prepared. I think we need to check and verify first. So not that one yet. Create a schedule network diagram to find the critical path. I think this one is still better. So we're actually getting their duration, and we're creating the actual schedule, and we're sequencing those activities. The schedule network diagram will sort of do that in a roundabout way as well, but it's not as complete of an answer. Create a resource assignment matrix to see who is assigned to the work. I think we'll do that, but first, I think we're going to do this first. So this could be a few different things. It's either A or D, but next, fingers crossed, I think it's going to be A. All right, excellent. Maybe a bit lucky for that one. We had a few good answers there. This scenario is describing project schedule management. You have defined the scope and the list of activities to deliver that scope. The next steps are to sequence them or prioritize them and with their dependencies, estimate their duration and then place them on a schedule assigned to resources. Oh, it conveniently left that out, didn't it? So we had to have known that, which is very good. But when we're assigning to resources, then we know who's going to be required and whether we have enough. So there we go, page 173 in the PMBOK Guide, 6th edition, Project Schedule Management. How did you go for that one? I think we got there in the end. That was really good. And now there's only a couple to go. You're doing great. Keep going, guys. You're doing fantastic work. Your project team have been working to create part of a software deliverable for 2 months, and an issue has just been raised where they believe it will cost 3 times the current budget and the time available. Okay, that's probably not a good thing. Let's see what we have to do here. They have identified a few third-party vendors who specialize in this item. What will you do next? Okay, sounds as though we can't deliver it. It's going to take too long, so we need to do this with a third-party vendor. Okay, how do we do that? Ask the project team to keep going because time and money has already been spent for them to create it. With this one, this actually is sunk cost. So when we're making decisions on our project, the best approach is to not take into consideration sunk cost when we're moving forward. Do we still need this project? Well, some people might say that we don't need the project, but we've spent so much money on it, we have to keep going. Well, what's the point? If we don't need it, if we still genuinely don't need it, we, the money that we've already spent shouldn't factor into our decision. That's our sunk cost. Create a procurement strategy and ask the project team for a statement of work. That sounds very good. I think that's really good. Statement of work is what they're going to need to work on as a vendor. And our procurement strategy is, how are we going to go about getting that vendor? So this actually sounds really promising. I think it's probably going to be B, but let's see what else we've got. Ask the procurement team to create a fixed price contract so it doesn't overrun any further. I mean, yeah, maybe. But first, we have to do this. So, maybe down the track, not the best answer for now. Select a seller and award a contract so the work can begin as quickly as possible. Again, we'll need to do this, but I think the first thing we do is create a procurement strategy and a statement of work. Let's go with answer B. All right, doing great, guys. Answer A is incorrect. This indicates the sunk, oh, there we go. How convenient. It's at least we're on the same page there, so that's nice validation. Sunk cost fallacy. Remove the money already spent from the decision, exactly like we were saying. Before accepting or hiring a third party, you'll need outputs from plan procurement management, which is a procurement strategy, including the delivery method and type of contract, and the statement of work, including the item description and requirements. Then you can send a request for quote or proposal to vendors using this information. That's very good to know. And we're at page 466 and page 481 under procurement documentation in the PMBOK Guide if you want to check that out for yourself. And you know what I want to check out for myself is the last 3 questions. So you are doing fantastic. This little section, we've got some really good answers here and some really good questions, but last 3, you're doing great. Keep going, guys. You're working as a project manager on a waterfall project, and the functional manager approaches you to say that the project is not going well and they don't think the product is going to meet the requirements that they agreed on. What will you do next? So they don't think the product is going to meet the requirements. How do we know if it's going to meet the requirements? Let's see if we've got any answers here. Provide a product review, so like a sprint review for the manager at the end of the next iteration. So that would demonstrate the product to the customer. That could be good. That's a maybe, yeah. But that's just for that little increment though, at the end of that 2 weeks or an iteration. So maybe they want like more information than that, I think. Let's see if there's a better answer. Review the requirements traceability matrix with the manager. So requirements and where did they come from? So who wanted them? Someone happy over here. And where do they go? They go to the scope. So we're matching them up to the scope that we're delivering in our project. And these guys are also happy because we've got all happy people on our project, of course. But I think this is actually a good one because we're seeing how it's matched up. Are we delivering what they actually wanted? Yeah, I think this actually could work. Let's see the other ones just in case. You add more scope to your project to satisfy the functional manager. No, I don't think we're asking for that anyway, so that's a bit of a throwaway question, throwaway answer. Review the scope management plan with the functional manager. That's more about the scope and the process of how we're managing the scope. So not that one for now. Let's go with answer B. And there it is, excellent work. The requirements traceability matrix is a grid that links the requirements from their origin to the deliverables that satisfy them, exactly as we said. This is the best option to see whether deliverables meet the requirements. A product review is an agile method, but it also may only provide a small snapshot of the product, exactly as we said again. Adding more scope could be gold plating. Oh, we didn't pick up on that. That's good. Gold plating is when we're adding too much. So we're going overboard, more than is necessary. The scope management plan will tell you the process of managing the scope. Page 148, requirements traceability matrix in the PMBOK guide if you want to check that out for yourself. Excellent work, guys. That was really, really good. How did you go? I hope you did well. I thought that was a good one. We've only got 2 to go in this little section. You're doing great. You're working on a highly complex and high-profile project and are under a pressure from the customer to deliver something quickly. However, the subject matter experts who are providing the product requirements are still in the process of figuring out around 70% of them due to the complexity of the product. Okay, so very complex product, subject matter experts can't provide the product requirements. Wow, this is tricky. And you know what? You'll have this happen in the real world as well. So how do we manage this? What can we do? Let's see. Wow, this is actually really tricky. So they don't know what they're doing for 70% of the requirements because it's too complex. Ask the project team to use rolling wave planning. Okay, that actually could be quite good. So we need to deliver something quickly. Perfect. Rolling wave planning is planning in detail something close to us, and then for all of the fast stuff, we just get a high level, a broad idea, and then as it gets closer to us again, we plan in detail, and then the next increment, we plan in detail. So we can still deliver this piece and this piece as it comes up, and this piece as it comes up, and just have a broad idea. So that's that 70%. I think that actually could work for us here. So high level in the long term, detailed in the short term, we can start delivering just that near-term stuff and plan for that long-term stuff, have a good idea of it coming up in the future. That could be good. Let's see what else we have. Ask the project team to consult the statement of work. Statement of work, that's more for vendors when we're working with vendors. Ask the project team to create a working prototype. That's not going to help us here. We want to, it will deliver something quickly. A working prototype? Gosh, that actually could be a good one as well. Let's put that aside. Ask the project team to do a work breakdown structure. That's not going to help us necessarily, breaking down the work. I think we still need to deliver stuff, so rolling wave planning is still our best option. Working prototype could help us, but what about the rest of it? That's where rolling wave planning comes in. I think we're going to go with answer A here. All right, excellent. It's an iterative technique where the work in the near term is planned in detail, while the work further in the future is planned at a higher level. This would allow something to be delivered while other work is being planned, exactly what we need to do. A prototype might help, but only if most of the requirements are known. That's a good point, so we didn't know all those requirements. And a work breakdown structure needs the high-level features to break down into smaller workable pieces as well. There we are. Page 185, Rolling Wave Planning in the PMBOK guide if you want to check that out for yourself. And that is great work. You're up to the last question. You did it! Well done! Then that was a bit tricky. I hope the last one's not as tricky as that one, but we'll soon find out. Although maybe it's good. We're getting better if we're doing the tricky ones too. As a project manager, you're developing the approved version of the time-based project budget. Okay, like a schedule Gantt chart or something similar? You have created the cost estimates and added a contingency reserve to combat known risks. What will you do next? Okay, we've got the budget, the cost estimates, and added a contingency reserve. And we've been through this before because we've got, this is talking about our budget, of course. We've got our project budget, our cost, we add our contingency reserve on top of that. That becomes the approved project budget, I think. On top of that, we add our management reserves. So that's our next one. And that altogether becomes the overall approved budget for our project. I can't remember the exact terminology, but I remember contingency reserves for risks and management reserves goes on top of that for a scope that we didn't see coming, but that's still within the scope of our project. So let's see what we've got. Okay, I see it here. Add the management reserve to create the total project funding requirements. Oh, there it is, that's what it's called. So that's very handy. What else do we have? The basis of estimates. I think we've probably already gone through that process. Update the configuration management plan. No, not, I mean, that's sort of separate. That's like, are we baselining the cost? Yes. If we are, then that goes into our configuration management plan. But that's sort of separate to what we're doing here. And review the cost performance index. That's only once we've started our project and we're wanting to see if we're on track or off track. So for our purposes, let's go with answer C. Excellent work. The cost baseline is the approved version of the time-phased project budget, which is a bit of a mouthful. I sort of understand that, but yeah, I mean, you guys probably have a bit more of a better idea than I do for that one. But all of that to say, it's basically our budget. And it includes contingency reserves for known risks and but it excludes any management reserves. The next best thing is to add those management reserves and complete your budget to create the total project funding requirements, which are derived from the cost baseline, and it is the other output of the determined budget process. So when we're determining the budget, that's the output we want, is our project funding requirements, made up of all of those things, costs and management reserves. And that's great. That's fantastic. You did it. These are the 10 questions in this little section. You did an amazing job, guys. Really, really well done. But more than that, you're doing something that is really going to help your career and also help your life. Project management is everywhere, and you will use these skills no matter where you go. I guarantee it. I use them every day and they're fantastic. So I hope you've had a whole bunch of fun. I know I certainly have. And I also hope to see you in the next video. Bye for now.